important encounter for them to ensure that they don't go into a fourth loss this season. It's going to be a very important game for St. Peter's with their big forward pack, probably coming up against a team that plays like them for the first time this season, a team that doesn't really rely only on one facet of their game. So we'll wait and see how that works out. St. Peter's roaring into form last weekend with a 19-0 lead in the first 20 minutes against Royal. Unfortunately, they couldn't hold on to that lead, and Royal came back strongly in that second half to win that match by 32 points to 24, whereas St. Thomas's are on a high. They lacked a little bit of intensity against St. Anthony's, but 41-11 was how it finished. So the crowd still pouring into this ground here, the big club ground. The weather conditions at the moment look absolutely ideal for rugby. It's nice and overcast. It's not too hot. The wind is not too strong either, but apart from that, we are expecting the storm clouds to roll in a little while later on in the evening, because the cloud cover from the ocean looks quite bad. But a man who last visited this ground when he played here and was captaining St. Peter's joins me here in the commentary box. Vice captain of St. Peter's, rather, sorry about that. Joining me in the commentary box, former CRNFC captain and Sri Lanka player as well, Ishan Noor. Ishan, welcome back to St. Thomas's after a long layoff.
Thanks, Shanagar. Yeah, probably after 8 years. The last time I actually was here, unfortunately, we lost the game. So I'm hoping for a change this time.
Well, that's going to be a tough one, isn't it, Ishan, judging by the form book so far this season and also the two teams that are on our cards at the moment. St. Peter's haven't had the season that they would want to really remember.
Not exactly, but at the same time, I haven't seen St. Thomas's playing as well, except the first game that they played against St. Joseph's. St. Peter's has not been in the form, but last game actually they were in the form, but they couldn't manage to hold on until the last minute. This game might be different. I mean, the ground conditions, the ground support is actually for St. Thomas's. It's against us, but still for all, I think we can manage to pull out something this time.
Looks like a couple of interesting changes being made also by the coaching staff, and you've got quite a few in the coaching staff as well. Colin Denish is your head coach, and you've got Ransulu Jatilaka, who's doing the strength and conditioning for your team. You've got guys like Mohammed Sharif, Kevin Dixon, all those backs coming in to help out as well. And you've made a couple of changes, especially in the backs. Sandesh Javikrama, the captain, he comes in at first centre, and then you've moved Theekshana Eshan to the outside centre position, and Diath Fernando, interestingly, dropping down to fullback. So can you explain a little bit of the thinking there, Ishan?
Mainly because what we feel is that the St. Thomas's pack, what we want is pretty much strong. So we want to utilize the backs as much as possible. I mean, when it comes to flexibility backs, I would say St. Thomas has a very big side. So I suppose we have advantage in that, in running the ball wide. And of course, the previous game with Royal, we had a huge drawback when it comes to rolling ball, and I think they drew about 50 meters, which is one part which was lacking in St. Peter's. But hopefully, I think we trained hard, and we are looking forward to counter that as well, and mainly utilizing the backs to utilize them as much as possible and to score.
So the game plan then would be, I suppose, well, it's late enough now for us to reveal the game plan, but in this nice wide ground that we see here at the big club grounds, Ishan, there's a lot of space between the two touch lines. You would imagine that St. Peter's will be happy about that.
Yes, it is. We would be happy, but again, like I actually mentioned, as I came, the slope over there is my biggest concern over there, because I think the St. Thomas's guys are pretty much used to that turf area over there, but it's not. It's foreign for us, and the wind factor, of course, it will not be much of a very good kicking ground to kick to. To kick to the touches, but all in all, I think it will be an interesting game. We are expecting a very good game, especially fullbacks. I think St. Thomas's also have one of the good fullbacks to this season, and St. Peter's we have bought in Diath as a fullback, so we are hoping something big.
Yes, Mayan Jayawardena makes a reappearance into the starting lineup this time, so that will be a huge boost for the Thomian supporters that you saw just there on your screen. And that's where the wind is coming from that Ishan was talking about, and that's the line of coconut trees that actually makes the wind a little bit of an alien factor to visiting teams, because the wind comes in over those trees, and as soon as the ball goes high, it gets grabbed by the wind and taken towards you in your living rooms or wherever you may be right now. the ball will be blown towards the bottom of your screen. So that's something that Samuel Madhuanta last week for St. Anthony's didn't quite cotton on to in time, and he kicked a couple of restarts astray, which led to tries for St. Thomas's and really created the gap between Thomians and the Antonians last week. But hopefully St. Peter's would have learned from that. But St. Thomas's, of course, on their home grounds, they will know exactly how to exploit these conditions. And what Ishan was talking about was that big square you see at the bottom of your screen as well. That's the turf wicket that St. Thomas's play their cricket on. So just like CHNFC and just like police grounds as well, you will encounter a few tough conditions on that harder turf as St. Peter's run out to be greeted by the chief guests and the warden and the rector just before this game kicks off. So St. Thomas's, defending champions of the Archibald Trophy encounter so far, Ishan. But last year, I would imagine that St. Peter's were expected to win that one, but St. Thomas's with a young side came out and actually won that one. But this time, you would be hoping for a bit of revenge.
Of course, it has been with the two schools. There's always been revenge. So this match will be pretty much the same, I guess. Again, talking about the turf over there, I mean, my concern was if it rains over there, it'll be very much slippery. So my concern was that, but fortunately there was no rainy clouds. But again, it is been gathering over here now, so that will be a concern, I think, even for.
I think both teams. For St. Peter's as well. The two men in your screen right now is Malinda Deshapriya. He's the vice captain, the prop. And then you've got Sachita Jayatilaka running out behind him. And he may, in fact, game he might be rested. There's a bit of talking there about his ability to last the whole game, so we'll wait and see how that goes. And the team card. Malinda Deshapriya, the man I was talking about, and the captain Pandula De Silva. Tehan Pereira makes a start, and Wayne Mack and Harit Serenaik, who have been the best second row duo for me this season so far. Shani Vahangama, Joshua Delisle, Sachita Jayatilaka formed that third row combination. Shanal De Silva has been excellent at 9. Bhuminda Disanaika with a poor game last week will be hoping to win. Ashwanta Herath, Praveen Ferdinando combining in the centres this time. Mayon Jayawardhan and Navin Henakan Kanamge and Danoja Vijayaratna, the flanker turned to winger, has shifted to the back three as well. So that's an interesting one. And then for St. Peter's also a few changes in their positional play. Delpachitra, Yapa and Rodrigo form a very big front row. Yapa has been full of running this season. Nane Akara and Mendis, we saw them in the lineup. They will pose a threat as well. Mendis, Gurusingha and Disanaika. Disanaika will do well to marshal from the back of the scrum, because that's a very important area for St. Peter's today. Heen Palla and Stefan are pairing off at 9 and 10. It should be a good partnership, because Sivaraj Stephen has been a little stop-start so far this year. Nonis and Jayavikrama, Dasanayaka, Ratnayaka and Diat Fernando are the rest of the three quarters for St. Peter's. So who are your key players there, Ishan, in that St. Peter's lineup?
Once again, I think the main man will be the Heen Palla. He has been in the form, I think, right throughout the season. Previous game, it was not very much expected from him. But again, Yapa, I think he has been a very good ball carrier, as well as Delpachitra as well, brings in a lot of experience, and Rodrigo. I think those are the main players, along with the fullback, which is Diat Fernando, who has been giving a lot of support from behind.
Yes, he will be one that St. Peter's really look forward to. Here's the replacements from both teams. And Chirant Abevikrama and Adisha Handun Patrana have been excellent in the front row replacements, along with Shenuk Pereira. Kavin Jayasekara and Abita Pilapitia in the second row and third row replacements. Dion Dias Hans Valpola is the fly half. Sarit Naneakara drops to the bench after starting most of the games this season. Chanuka and Iriagama are the other replacements for St. Thomas's. And Biang Villa, who started a few games last season, is dropped to the bench. Udukumbura Pereira Seram, also who has started a couple of games this season for St. Peter's, finds himself on the bench. Dimel Zaruk, Karnaratna Madhusanka, Fernando and Dilshan are the other replacements for the Pete Wright. So your
invite you to rise as we invite everybody to pay attention. And this is the college anthem of St. Peter's, Pampalagatia.
At Mount Lavinia, that's almost a dead certainty, but stranger things have happened, and as we wait for these.
Thank you very much, St. Peter's College, Pampalagatia. That's the right spirit, ladies and gentlemen, the college anthem of St. Thomas's, Mount Lavinia. Thank you very much.
All the best.
On to the game. It's a key game for both teams. Also for the both team, they want to remain.
That concludes
They've been beaten in the
pre-match
4 games
formalities, and that's the home crowd getting in full voice before the game kicks off. And that's exactly what St. Thomas's expect from games held here at the big club grounds at St. Thomas's College. An absolutely picturesque ground. Whether the underfoot conditions will hold up to the serenity of the grounds is something that the next 80 minutes will be testament to. But let's hope and pray that the rain clouds avoid St. Thomas's until the game is done and dusted. So it's going to be a very interesting one. Couple of positional changes for St. Thomas's as well. Danoja Vijayaratna on the team card moves back to fullback. Mayon Jayawardena comes back on the wing. Pravin Ferdinando, who started at fullback last week, comes into the center position. And Sarit Nanayakaru drops to the bench after starting almost all the games this season, coming up with that winning drop goal, match-winning drop goal against Trinity College as well. And that's Wayne Mack on your screens, who has been instrumental to St. Thomas's this season. Pandula De Silva in the foreground, the skipper. And Mack has been absolutely instrumental in the lineouts and also in ball carrying. He has done a fair bit of work. That's the man who will be entrusted with making sure this game is fought clean and hard. Lots of trouble for Ishad Kada in the last week or so. Not his own fault, Ishan. You really have to feel for the referees, don't you?
Of course I do. I mean, they don't do mistakes, purposefully. But there can be certain things that cannot be looked into naked eye. So I think that was something like that which happened like the previous game.
Sandesh Jayavikrama, the Pete Wright captain, kicks off, and Shani Vahangama takes the first receipt for St. Thomas. It's a good chase. The prop was the first man there, Tehan Pereira. And Heen Palla goes to ground and has his forwards come out and help him. Delpachitra acts as scrum half behind the gain line, but St. Peter still have the ball, and that's a good rumble forward from Rodrigo. And here's the ball available for St. Peter's. Nice little offload. And Heen Palla now restored to the scrum half position. Disa Nayaka, who's playing at number 8 today in place of Prema Vardhana. Sivaraj Jayavikrama meets the big tackle of Danoja Vijayaratna. There was a small knock-on, I think, which went unnoticed there. And Ishan, I don't know if you remember, but against Isipatana as well, St. Peter started off brilliantly, scored a try in the first few minutes of the game, but then lost it from there.
I think we should keep the momentum going. I mean, that was a really good tackle by St. Thomas's. If they keep going at this pace, I think it will be much more easier for us. But seems like even the St. Thomas's guys are really strong over here.
Ratnayaka with that run into the 22, but once again, that's a terrible mistake, especially when you've done such good work. The wind probably getting in the way there, and the cricket throw from Yapa. And again, Ishan, I mean, you've captained and you've played in the pack for so many years. You know that the first line out, sometimes when it's windy conditions, you really do need to go to number 2 and steady that hooker's confidence.
Exactly. I think number 2 is the most safest jumper that we could have. So I think there was a bit of a wrong decision that was taken, and of course, like I said, the wind factor as well. Again, we can see that there's some rain on the ground, so that will be a bit much pretty unfortunate thing for us.
Yes, it will be unfortunate. It may slow the game down. There's a lashing rain that has suddenly come in over the seaside of this ground, and cameras also getting involved in that action.
Interesting that the Pete Wright pack was very strong over there. I think they shoved the scrum and they gave some trouble to St. Thomas's, but they managed to keep the ball back.
This is Wayne
Good
Mack.
run, and then it was knocked on.
Advantage.
Wayne Mack knocks on and going
Tackle. Roll away.
back where they started from, St. Peter's. Really good pressure in that scrum. St. Thomas's, looking from left to right on your screen. St. Thomas's playing towards you at the moment. So the Thomians will kick this one into touch and try to get into the pit right half. They've been under the cosh for the first few minutes of this game, and we'll bring you live pictures as soon as we are managing to get our umbrellas into place. The existing shelters haven't been sufficient against sideways rain here at St. Thomas's.
And this was pretty much unexpected as well.
3-4.
So the first line out for St. Thomas's. Pandula De Silva throws into a four-man line out. Well taken by Nanya Kara at number 2.
Play on.
Ball given to Shani Vahangama, who does a bit of a circuitous route round the first challenge and is taken in the number 10 position. And now the ball comes back blindside. Pandula De Silva, first receiver. He takes it into contact, and now they go open side again. Buminda Disanaika on the angle is Ferdinando, but Ferdinando was well in front of the man who was taking the pass from. So that's a bad mistake from St. Peter's. It was from St. Thomas. It was a good angle, but once again both teams a little nervous. But the plus side, Ishant, the rain has let up a bit.
Yes, in fact it did. But again, the wet condition is going to remain right throughout, and it's just going to get worse with this ground condition. If you notice, I mean, St. Thomas, whenever they took the ball, I mean, there had been some good breaks. But they haven't managed to keep the ball with them. They have always lost the ball. I think this is the third time probably that there was a knock-on in St. Thomas's side.
Must bind from here.
So it's a good scrum for St. Peter's. It's a nice centre field scrum just off that square there. Finally getting pictures back to you. Avishka Heenpala to feed this scrum for the forward pass.
Bind! Sit! Steady.
If you see, St. Peter's is showing a lot of resistance over there. I mean, they are showing their strength.
Him.
Rug ball!
Stephen, and here's Heempalla. That's Delpa Chitra. They're using him as a battering ram in midfield. It's good quick ball for Heempalla now.
Release!
Good comeback on the angle. Good hit from St. Thomas's. That was Mania Kara and Wayne Mack combining on the fringe, and it looks like they won the penalty. So good defense from the Thomians there, but St. Peter's managing to hang on to the wet ball, Ishan.
Yes, even though that they have been playing the quick ball, I'm very happy that they have been able to manage to hold on to the ball, whereas St. Thomas's, whenever they got the ball, I think they missed so many opportunities, though there were so many breaks. But in St. Peter's case, I think they managed it very well. As you can see, the kick over there was not too far and deep, whereas when it comes to the other side.
Keep the 1 meter.
Yes, the wind blowing from top to bottom of your screen as you're watching here at home, and that kick from Buminda Disanaika was hit pretty hard, but it held itself up in the wind and just barely managed to trickle over the touchline. So Pandula De Silva to throw into St. Thomas's second line out. The line out has been a very good part of their game this season. Royal and St. Thomas's probably have the most successful lineouts, Ishan.
Interestingly, they are having a full man line out, and I think it's a backfield. Pretty much strong run by their number 1 prop forward.
Tehan Pereira, and that's a nice long ball over the top to Meon Jayawad, and a nice flat ball as well to Dhanuja Vijayaratnan, who has joined the line.
Play on.
Senal De Silva. Pandula De Silva now goes into contact. He's a big man, takes several to bring him down. Senal. Here's Buminda Disanaika. The Peters line is up very quickly. Good tackle on Disanaika. Now they come open side. Delisle. Good tackle again. St. Peter's coming up off their defensive line very quickly. Dhanuja Vijayaratna hands off the first player. So the number 8 converted to wing. He's creating a bit of havoc out wide, the big man. Ashwanta Herat gives it on to his forward runner.
You must follow me.
First time on St. Thomas is managing to get to the 40 meters of St. Peter's line.
It's a good run by Buminda Disanaika. St. Thomas's are being patient. Pandula hits a nice angle. De Silva delays the pass to him, and now they've gone blindside again. Lovely skip pass there, and Ahangama gives it to Henakan Kanamge, the danger man. He manages to make a few yards and make the ball available again. This is good continuity.
Offside.
Disanayaka to his captain. Senal De Silva, now Bhuminda Disanayaka on the switch to Ashwanta Herat. Comes back inside, not held, so he borrows through a few more yards. Senal De Silva, Rehan Pereira offloads to the captain, who puts in a little quick pass off the back.
Offside.
But the Peters line was up a little too quickly that time. So offside is the call, and St. Thomas's have their first opportunity in the red zone. But good build-up play there, Ishan. That's the kind of stuff that a lot of coaches would like. Nice patient build-up.
It was, I think, St. Thomas's went through a lot of phases over there. They managed to keep the ball with them. For the first time, they managed to get into the 22 of St. Peter's half, but unfortunately, again, there was a mistake that they lost the ball.
No mark.
But fortunate enough for them
No
to get a
mark.
penalty back
Keep
again,
the 1 meter gap.
and they are into a line out,
Beyond that,
which
that's-
is in the
no, no,
danger
that's a
zone.
mark. Beyond
And
that mark.
I hope they will not utilize the
Wait.
same thing where Royal did the last time, the rolling maul, and that is what they are
Maul!
going
Nanayakkara catches it in the middle, and looks like that has been brought down. Referee's got his arm up for a penalty. It's like it was Ashwanta
Offside
Herat who
again.
took that forward. Now Bhuminda Disanayaka, quick ball out to Mayon Fernand. Mayon Jayawardena goes to ground, and Danuja Vijayaratne does excellently. Ferdinando reaches over the line and he scores. Pravin Ferdinando, he needed that try.
Captain.
Conceded one with a fumble last week against the Antonians to give them an unexpected lead, and now being put into the starting lineup in favor of Sarit Nanayakkara, has repaid his coach's confidence with a try that'll do him a load of good. Ferdinando, a very talented player, hasn't really delivered. Maybe this is the start of his real blossoming as Thomian colorsman. But Ishan, good opportunity taken there by St. Thomas's. They had the penalty as well.
They actually wanted to do the line-out drive. I think St. Peter's was ready to counter that, but unfortunately it was once again a penalty. It was playing advantage, and it was a very patient move by St. Thomas's. There were about 5 to 6 phases before they scored, and they managed it very well.
Ashwanta Herat made a couple of yards in the build-up play. Big, strong lad. He's been very consistent with his kicking. Hasn't done anything too spectacular, but also has done what's expected of him, which is the good news. And that's a pretty straightforward conversion. The flags go up from the assistant referees, and Herat adds the 2 points to the 5 scored by Ferdinando. And St. Thomas's go into a lead in this Archibald Trophy Memorial encounter. And St. Peter's, through that man on screen, Rahal Delpachitra, will be looking to do big things here. Is this Purnaka's brother, Ishan?
Yes, he is
The youngest of the brothers?
the
or-
youngest of the one. Yes. Contrast to Purnaka, where he was number 7, whereas he's number 2, no, number 1 rather.
Well, I think I saw a
Play
picture
on,
of
play on.
Purnaka recently. He's not that far off his younger brother's size. Bhuminda Disanayaka feigns to kick and opts to run it. Now Henakan Kanamge, lovely offload to him. Dances away and gives the ball.
Tackle.
But good unselfish play from the
Stay
winger.
back. Stay back.
But good counter ruck as well from St.
Tackle,
Peter's.
roll away.
Joshua Delisle plays at scrum half, and now Senal De Silva off to Ashwanta Herat at first receiver. He plays there quite a bit. And now a quick ball to Mayon Jayawardena. Jayawardena looking for Vijayaratne. Vijayaratne, and the inside flick is no good. It's gone forward, says the referee, and St.
Forward,
Peter's have it.
advantage, white spot.
Advantage is being played.
No advantage.
And there was
No
no
forward,
advantage,
come down,
says
white
referee
spot.
Carter very correctly. And they'll come back for the scrum. Here's the pass that went forward. It's a good tackle in the end by Deekshan Eshan on Mayon Jayawardena, and his inside pass didn't go to hand. But I think a little bit of a miscommunication there between the centre and the winger. Ishan, he should probably have stayed on the outside and just drawn and passed. They might have ended up in a try.
Again, I think there had been some good runs by the three quarters, but the support play has not been very much supportive towards executing the move.
Well, Rahul Delpachitra in at prop forward there. He's got a baby face, but there's nothing babyish about his playing.
All right, must bounce.
Disanayaka moving into the number 8 position. Premavaradhan unavailable for
Fine.
St. Peter's. He's the man who got red carded in the Isipathana game. Good player. Avishka Hinpal feeds the scrum outside the 22, and now danger for St. Peter's. Real danger. Christian Delisle makes a good tackle. And Hinpal puts a kick in, and it's a dangerous kick. Vijay Ratna looks for Mayon Jayawardena. Jayawardena looking for some support as well. Henakan Kanamge gets there, as does Ashwanta Herat. And Senal De Silva looks for his options. Sachin Jayatilaka with his first carry of the game frees his arms, gets Pandula De Silva away. Christian Delisle inches short of the line, and the referee blows it up for a knock on. But again, severe pressure from that scrum, St. Peter's, and they had to scramble to clear their lines and are lucky not to concede again.
No business for you. Okay.
You can see some beautiful offloads going here, but unfortunately end up with a knock on.
Scrum down, white's ball.
Well, that's a tough call, isn't it, Ishan? You
Get back, please.
ball goes behind, but
I think it moved forward. So
yes, the technical call is correct.
Watch your offside line. Yes.
Lots expected from Yapa as well. He's a senior man for you, Ishan.
Ishan is a very good ball carrier as well, but the two lineouts that was thrown in was not in favor of us. So more probably mentally he might be having that in his mind.
Set. Steady, steady, steady.
Avishka Hinpal will look for a better ball from his forward pack this time. It's still not a great scrum. And the penalty comes for hinging, says the referee, standing up in the front row. So
Mark here.
that's an interesting call. Didn't actually see that on our
Standing up.
screens because the camera angle was not really the one that we can see that from. And St. Thomas's opt for that wall that they have been using. This takes us back to the early 1990s when St. Thomas's used this one, and Pandula De Silva barges straight through the middle. Thought he'd got there, but Senal De Silva now has it. Ashwanta Herat, Mayon Jayawardena dummies and goes over for the try. There are 3 defenders around him, but coming back from injury, Mayon Jayawardena will love to have that try under his belt.
It was a risky call that St. Thomas has made. I think a 3-pointer would have been ideal, but I think they took a chance and they were confident about it and they managed to score.
Ashwanta Herat, that's the dummy from Mayon Jayawardena. First tackle missed by Sivaraj. Hinpalla gets across, and in fact that was Mendis who got across for the tackle, but too little too late, and Jayawardena powers over for the try. Serious knee injury he picked up against Royal College. Soldiered on in that game. And had a couple of weeks rest where St. Thomas's did miss him. And now he's back and playing in a different position. Ashwanta Herat from the 15-meter line. So 2 quick tries, Ishan. As a skipper, what would you be saying to your team right now?
We have to put everything aside and play our potential. I think the main thing is actually to camp in their half. The moment they came to our half, I think the twice they came into our 22, they managed to score. So it's always good to be in their half and to put them under pressure rather than we being under pressure over here.
Yes, indeed. And the first scrum would have given St. Peter's a lot of confidence. They completely shoved the Thomians off the ball. But since then, the scrum has not stood up to examination. And that's a problem, hasn't it been, Ishan, in recent times, that teams are able to exert more pressure on the defensive scrum, but really haven't been able to hold their own scrums.
True, especially in the red zone of the St. Peter's side over here, whereas St. Thomas did a really good job.
Lovely hanging kick there from Sandesh Jayavikrama, well taken. by Christian Delisle. And Bhuminder Dissanayake can clear his lines now. The chase is non-existent, but Dissanayake, the number 8, wearing the number 1 jersey, is back well. And unfortunately, the winger runs into touch on the far side. That's Ratnayake. It's a difficult ground, a bit like the race course, isn't it, Ishan? To get your bearings, you're not exactly sure where the touch lines are.
Of course, but I think racecourse ground is much more harder to run because of the surf. I guess it's much more softer when it comes to this, I think. But this ground, I don't think that is the case. But again, I think in terms of the width, it's very much difficult to judge the touch lines, like you actually said, which is affecting.
De Silva finds Nanayakkara in the middle. It's a good chase by Avishka Heenpal off the back of the line out, but Ashwant Herath does well to bring this back into support. And now Pandula De Silva gives it away and it's left behind. So that was an unfortunate drop there. Pravin Ferdinando getting a pat on the back for his troubles. Pandula De Silva has been moving the ball a lot from that first receiver position, Ishan, where he draws defenders, and that was Bhuminder Dissanayake who left that ball behind. But sometimes the pop pass is a little bit more effective in those positions for players to run onto rather than the hard spun pass, isn't it?
Yes, and I think the main thing is actually close by support. If they have the support, it'll much more easier for them. But whereas vis-a-vis St. Peter's, when it comes to Stephen, it's pretty much best thing to send it out, I suppose.
So losing their footing there. So good to see that the referee recognizes that it's hard for the players as well. They're moving the scrum a little bit away from that square. And that's what you want to see, isn't it, Ishan? Players, referees helping the players out to play some good rugby.
Things have changed, and I think referees are being more flexible in terms of that. So, and also new rugby rules as well has changed, helping the players, especially the yellow card offence and for high tackers and stuff.
Ball in.
Lots of going up in the front rows. St. Peter's need
Number
to
12.
watch for that.
Not
And
5 meter. 12.
not 5 meters, I think, is the call.
Number 12.
Number 12, not 5 meters from the base of the scrum. So I haven't seen that penalty being called at very much at all. So that's a big miss from Ashwant Herath. Bit of indiscipline allowing St. Peter's back. This is a sign of champion teams. You've got to put the opposition away. They can't allow them opportunities to get back into the game. Deshapriya has done well in the scrums so far. So take the kick or go for the line out?
I would say, considering the previous two lineouts, I think it's better to go for a kick because we are anyway 12 points behind, and 3-pointer will give some sort of morale to go in. Because I think it's too early to drive them all with St. Thomas's. So 3 points going in. So let them tire a bit, and then maybe we can use them when their legs are tired.
Steven Sivaraj knocking over the first points for St. Peter's in this Archibald Pereira Memorial Trophy here in the Singer Schools Rugby League. This is the cup competition live from the big club grounds at St. Thomas's College in Mount Lavinia. And that was the first 3 points for St. Peter's, who now trail by 12 points to 3 against the 2 quick tries that have been scored by the Thomians. Herath to restart, and he kicks it into the wind. It'll hang up nicely and taken by the danger man Theekshan. Hasn't really had a lot of running so far in this game. St. Peter's will be looking for him to do a bit more of that. Heenpal takes his time and Sivaraj puts this one deep, but St. Thomas is ready for it. 4 players back there, and Bhuminder Dissanayake gives it now to Satija Jatilaka, who gets a chance to stretch his legs. Goes straight up the middle as he has done so often. Wayne Mack Low pass to Pandula De Silva, who handles it well. Ferdinando looks for his wing outside him, but hangs on to the ball wisely. Chanel De Silva, it's a lovely pod of forwards running onto the ball. And Bhuminda Dissanayake. It's another forward pass to Tehan Pereira. Thomians making mistakes at crucial junctures. Ishan, that's the second time that forward pass has been called from this sort of a play.
And probably the fourth time that they're making this mistake. There had been 2 knock-ons previously, and that is also in the attacking half. St. Peter's defense has been pretty much consistent, though there had been some missed tackles, but I think they have covered the field pretty much.
Yes, they have. I think the 2 tries have come because of 2 good scrums. Not much else. St. Peter's defense has held.
Play on, play.
Dissanayake. It's a bad ball at the back. Heenpalla does beautifully to roll away from that tackle of Jayatilaka. And the kick is good with the wind. And St. Peter's managed to get a few yards of breathing space. Joshua Delisle has been excellent this season. Real hard-working number 7. Danuja Wijayaratne started life at the back of the Thomian pack while Sachit Jayatilaka was off playing cricket. And with Jayatilaka's re-emergence, he moved to the flank and then has gone in now to the wing. Wayne Mack off the top. It's an untidy ball and well intercepted by Heenpalla. He's going all the way. Yes, he is. Avishka Heenpalla read that all the way. He's been doing some excellent work at the back of that line out, Ishan. They're using him at the tail of the line out to make sure that they pressure the ball catcher first up. He knew the line out was untidy and he read it beautifully. And the ball was almost passed straight into his hands.
I think the first point came from the contesting of the line out. I think they contested the line out and they gave a bad ball. And Heenpalla reading it very well, beautifully, and dashing towards the line. So
Yes.
I think the 3-pointer has given some boost for St. Peter's over here and coming up with another try. So I think that was a good call, and probably if this goes on, it's going to be only 2-point difference.
Yes, if this kick goes over, it will be a good comeback for St. Peter's. St. Thomas is just relaxing a little bit. That line out. That's a great kick by Sivaraj.
Yes, and 2 points.
Excellent kick. So it's 12 points to 10. This Archibald Pereira Memorial Trophy, the 9 and 10 combining to score all the points for St. Peter's so far. They'll want their 12 and 13 also to get in on the act, I'm sure. But it's a good wake-up call for St. Thomas's after leading comfortably. Just a little bit of miscommunication, that forward pass in an attacking position, leading to them coming all the way back and conceding a try. A goal, in fact. Anxious supporters looking on from both schools.
And he misjudges the kick in his own ground, surprisingly.
Exactly, Ishan. That's why this is so difficult to judge the wind here, because happened to Samuel Madhuanta, who is one of the best kickers of the ball in this entire league for the Antonians, and happening to the home team on their home ground. Just shows how much of a factor the wind is.
And this is putting them on unwanted pressure. So once more, a midfield scrum in favour of St. Peter's. Past couple of scrums has been a concern for St. Peter's, because they managed to hold the first few, but now seems like they're on the back foot.
You can easily see the techniques here, and the tight head prop for St. Peter's not really holding his footing there, so he's looking to stand up quite a bit. That's Rodrigo on this near side, the tight head for St. Peter's. Tehan Pereira just getting rid of some grass from his studs. Unfortunately, most players in Sri Lankan rugby can't really afford to have 2 pairs of boots for each game, one with long studs and one with short studs.
I'm sure St. Thomas's people can.
It's not a great assessment, Ishan. That's a lovely dummy from Avishka Heenpal, who goes on the open side, looks for the offload and should probably have kept it in hand. Disanaika does well to support his number 9, Sivaraj. And referee says no knock on there. So Yapa continues going. Lovely run by Yapa, makes a lot of yards there. And St. Peter's with their tails up now. Here's their captain, Sandesh Jayavikrama, now wants a piece of the action. And it's been turned over, Deshapriya. Duvinda Disanaika. The pass is behind Pandula De Silva and the referee says holding on. So St. Thomas's get lucky there after conceding quite a few yards to Avishka Heenpala from the back of that scrum.
They had a lot of numbers out as well, whereas Pete Rice, they have only 2 Pete Rights. And the kick is in this time.
Diath Fernando now the fastest man on the Peters team. What a step from him. Puts the kick in. He's going to catch this. Oh. And Bhuminda Disanaika just gets back. But the referee's got his arm out, the assistant referee. So we might see something that they haven't seen. I think he's saying that there's a shoulder charge.
Will it be a penalty try?
Let's see whether we can see it here. Here's Diath Fernando. What a lovely step this is. Watch this left foot step. Bang. There he goes. Mayon Jayawat on a left foot dead. Joshua Delisle. And that's Senal De Silva. I don't think there was anything in it that at all. He tried to put a shoulder in there, but he wasn't successful. It didn't stop Diath Fernando in his tracks at all. But back live now, we've got the penalty from where the ball landed actually.
But I think it should have been a penalty try because there was clear way that they could have gone for the line.
Not sure I agree there. But that's a beautiful move.
Oh my God, don't tell me knock on.
From Mendis, the number 22. Not really sure what's gone on there. It's looking a little... And that's what Dhanuja Vijayaratna was saying. There was a man well in front of the ball there. The obstruction. So Mendes seemed to use that obstruction. And the referees called it accidental. So this game is hotting up, Ishan.
It is so tensed. And I can see this crowd is cheering up as well. That was a brilliant step by
Diath Fernando.
Diath Fernando actually on the turf. I was expecting to be a slippery turf, but he managed to do it really well.
Sandesh Jayavikrama gathers his players around now. Referee's had a word with the skippers as well, and he's telling his pack what he expects of them. So it's an accidental. Referee's called a knock-on actually.
Coming back to the penalty, I would say that that's a penalty try because mainly there was only one player from St. Thomas's, whereas there were 2 from St. Peter's, and there was clear advantage in the side of St. Peter's where it was blocked, if I'm not mistaken, by one of the St. Thomas's players.
There was an attempt to block Kishan, so not sure that it actually did hamper Diath Fernando's run. He didn't have to slow down at all, so that's the only area where there might have been some doubt. The referee has to be sure beyond any doubt that a try would have been scored. And another penalty for boring in this time. So the scrum has let St. Peter's down at some crucial moments.
Especially in their half when it's an attacking move. This is the 3rd time I suppose that we gave away the ball in a scrum. I was expecting really some good scrums because initial the very beginning that they managed really well, but now as I mentioned, I think they are in the back foot.
Bhuvinder Dissanayake, who got back to prevent that try being scored by that brilliant Diat Fernando step. Wayne Mack. 4-man line out. And Nanayakkara takes it at Serenayake rather takes it at the front. And it's a good run from the little guy, Senal De Silva, Chuti as he is known to the rest of the team. Deshapriya, he's a big man, picks it up and goes.
He learned from his previous mistake and he was very watchful on Heen Palla.
That's excellent work. Could have gone either way, but the referee ruled that Deshapriya was holding on and Yapa had his feet there before he went to ground. Dalpachitra, in fact. And Sandesh Chavikram will use the wind to thump this one down and try and attack again. St. Peters have come back well into this game after being 2 tries down, Ishan. So good character shown from this side.
Patience has been there in the side, I suppose, and the only thing is the consistent. If they can keep this going, we can manage to pull out with the win.
Rodrigo at the front of the line out. That's Senanayake. Been calling him Nanayakkara all this time, but Senanayake is the man who is at the front for St. Thomas's. But that's a lovely throw to the middle. Dissanayake does well to exchange a few short passes there, and Heen Palla now will go open side. Yapa
going sideways.
Well tackled by Abshwant Herath, who drives him sideways. Cuts down the angle for Tikshana Eshan. And nice collection on the bounce there from
prop forward.
Rodrigo, exactly.
And out wide.
Mendes. Good tackle by Mayan Jayawardena. Excellent tackle on Nonis. Nonis was a winger on this side, and I think the entire Peterite crowd thought that he would be able to beat Jayawardena on the outside, but an excellent cover tackle. Didn't allow the inside step Jayawardena. And that's excellent technique. Any youngsters watching, that's how you make a cover tackle when you're one-on-one. The Thomian prefix, house prefix. Serenayake regathers that one as it's knocked back from the top. Senal De Silva to Bhuvinder Dissanayake. And here's Nonis, and that's a bad miss from Nonis. Almost scored a try a few seconds ago, and suddenly looking up into the sun, doesn't manage to collect that really high kick from Bhuvinder Dissanayake. So few errors creeping into the game which have taken the pressure off St. Thomas's.
I don't think sun was the factor over there. I think it was sheer pressure, because sun is towards the left of the field, and it was sheer pressure that made him drop the ball, I suppose.
So referee has given St. Thomas's the scrum instead of the line out. Not sure that's what they would have preferred.
Was a knock on.
De Silva coming off the blind side wing is Danoja Vijayaratna. Lovely offload. Ferdinando finds Jayawardena. Henakan Kanamge against Ratnayake. Well tackled. Oh, and there was definitely a punch that flew in there. I think the assistant referee on the far side has seen it. You can see a replay of that entire incident. I'm sure we can see what happened. Here it goes, Mayan Jayawardena going in there, counter-rucking, and gets pushed back, and it's happening off screen at the moment. That's where the issue happened, just on the left of where the ruck was. Meon Jayabodhana got a bit of a smack around the ears. Don't forget that ThePapare.com is available on all your social media platforms as well. And Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, YouTube and SoundCloud. You can catch all our sound clips, the videos, the replays, the highlights, the breakdowns, everything. Diat Fernando holding his head, a little bit of play acting from Diat, just to show that he got done in that exchange as well. But I think lucky to stay on the field after those exchanges.
I think it was not clear in the visual, but I suppose yes, he was lucky enough to stay in the field, otherwise it would have been a yellow card.
Man on the right of your picture there, Sashi Vedamanikam, the first hooker in Sri Lanka schools to use a two-handed throw back in 1996. Watching from the sidelines this time. Love to get involved, I'm sure. But lovely pass to Ferdinando. Steps off the left foot. Senal De Silva to Pandula De Silva. And now again to Ashwanta Herath, who's at first receiver. He likes taking the ball in these close quarters in the 22. Disanaik, a good pass out in front of him. He wriggles under the tackle of Yapa. Pandula De Silva waits for it. Calls his support players. Yapa takes him down, his opposite number. Wayne Mack. Senal De Silva. Ashwanta Herath puts one. Hand off, two hands off. Senal De Silva now. Delisle. Sajida Jatilak on a lovely angle and he's over, is he? Not yet. Held up, says the referee. Sajida Jatilaka thought for all money that he'd gone over there. And it looked very much from our angle that he had, but the referee is well placed to see that. Good angle hit by Jayatilaka, straightening it after Delisle had taken the wide ball from Senal De Silva. Here's the ball from Delisle. Lovely angle. Jayatilaka just really pumping his legs. And just getting under there was Mendes. So good defense there from Peters. Which Jayatilaka. It's an 8-9 move. Henakan Kanamge. Massive tackle on him by Tikshan Eshan. But the winger does well to squeeze that ball out. And Sajida Jayatilaka gets over this time. Thought he'd scored a few seconds before. Wasn't going to miss out the second time around. And Jayatilaka barges over after Navin Henakan Kanamge had done really well to recycle that ball. And Jayatilaka scores the third try for the Thomians.
St. Peter's managed to do really well at the maul to counter the maul, but there onwards I think defense has been pretty much good until the try was actually scored.
Here's where Henakan Kanamge recycled the ball. He did it beautifully. And Jayatilaka, you can't go high on him. Avishka Palla, the little man, had no chance. And the defense just a little bit out of position there. Not really coming up from the guard position where you need to come up from. So just a little bit of disorganization there, which they'll have to talk about now, Ishan.
And of course, like you mentioned, I think low tackle, they should go low. If not, it's going to be very hard to put down these big boys.
Herath with his most difficult kick of the afternoon so far. And it's an excellent one. He converted against Trinity. An absolutely high pressure conversion. From about the same position to bring the game to 15 points all. Let's watch it again.
It'll be a morale booster actually just before the halftime for them to score and go 19 points to 10. So there's clearly 9 points lead.
So it's been an interesting half of rugby. St. Peter's came back into that game after they started off really well. But St. Thomas has scored 2 tries in quick succession. But the Peterites, through some good work from Avishka Heenpal and Diat Fernando, exerted some pressure, but have just managed to concede a try just before halftime. A very important part of the game in which teams would like to score points. So 19 points to 10. Ishan and I will be back after the halftime break.
This is iPhone 6s. Not much has changed, except it responds to the pressure of your finger. So you can peek into stuff. And pop stuff open, which changes how you play a song. Read a text. Read an email. Read the news. Wait, you read the news?
Yep.
Of course you do. Now you can change apps like this, pay at more places like this, and the new color looks like this. It's rose gold, it's awesome. And Siri is more helpful than ever.
Hey Siri, show me photos of tortellini.
Here are some images of tortellini.
Maybe get takeout? The camera shoots 4K video now, which changes how your movies look. Nice. Even selfies have changed. Now your screen is the flash. That's gonna get like 1 million likes.
Thanks.
Actually, photos themselves have changed. They move now. You just touch them. So yeah, that's what's changed.
මේ මගේ ටැබ් එක ඩයලොග් ලේසි පේ වලින් ගත්තේ.
ලේසි පේ ඩයලොග් හඳුන්වා දෙන ශ්‍රී ලංකාවේ පහසු ගෙවීමේ පෙරලිකාර විප්ලවය.
Latest for phone, smartphone, tab.
මාස් පතා ටික ටික ගෙවන්න. මාසෙට රුපියල් 209ක් වගේ පොඩි ගාණකටත් තියෙනවා. ක්‍රෙඩිට් කාඩ්, ස්ටෑන්ඩින් ඕඩර් මොකුත් ඕනේ.
මේ හැම දෙයක් වගේම ඩයලොග් ටෙලිවිෂන් කනෙක්ෂන් උත් ලේසි පේ වලින් අරගන්න.
ශ්‍රී ලංකාවේ පහසු කැවීමේ පෙරලිකාර විප්ලවය ඩයලොග් හඳුන්වා දෙන ලේසිපේ දෛනික හා මාසික ප්ලෑන්ස් දැන් ශ්‍රී ලංකාවේ හැමෝටම මාසකට රුපියල් 209 සිට ගෙවන්න ගන්න. ඩයලොග් ශාඛාවකට හෝ බලයලත් අලෙවි නියෝජිතයෙකු වෙත පැමිණෙන්න. ඩයලොග් ලේසිපේ ටක් ගාලා ගන්න ටික ටික ගෙවන්න.
Dialogue Self-Care app is Sri Lanka's first and only award-winning app and is the best in the region with trilingual support. So we further improved the app to give more power and control to you. Even more powerful now, with over 50 dialogue services at your control anytime, any place, in your own preferred language. New services for Club Vision members. Step onto the world of self-care possibilities. Download now for free.
ළමයෝ දැන් ඩේටා වලට ඔච්චර ලෝභ වෙන්න ඕන නැහැ. ඔන්න ඩයලොග් හෝම් බ්‍රෝඩ්බෑන්ඩ් එකේ ඩේටා ඩබල් වෙලා.
එහෙනම් ඩබල් ගෙවන්නත් වෙයි.
නෑ, තියෙන ඩේටා වගේ ඩබල් ලැබෙනවා පරණ ගානටම නොමිලේ.
ශ්‍රී ලංකාවේ අංකකේ සහ වේගවත්ම ඉන්ටර්නෙට් සම්බන්ධතාවයෙන් දැන් රෑට ඩේටා ඩබල් වෙලා.
ඩේටා ඩබල්.
ඩයලොග් අනාගතය ආදායි.
මේ මගේ ටැබ් එක ඩයලොග් ලේසිපේ වලින් ගත්තේ.
ලේසිපේ ඩයලොග් හඳුන්වා දෙන ශ්‍රී ලංකාවේ පහසු ගෙවීමේ පෙරලිකාර විප්ලවය.
Latest phone, smartphone, tab.
මාස් පතා ටික ටික ගෙවන්න. මාසෙට රුපියල් 209ක් වගේ පොඩි ගානකටත් තියෙනවා. ක්‍රෙඩිට් කාඩ්, ස්ටෑන්ඩින් ඕඩර් මොකුත් ඕනේ නැහැ.
මේ හැම දෙයක් වගේම ඩයලොග් ටෙලිවිෂන් කනෙක්ෂන් ලේසිපේ වලින් අරගන්න.
ශ්‍රී ලංකාවේ පහසු කැවීමේ පෙරලිකාර විප්ලවය ඩයලොග් හඳුන්වා දෙන ලේසිපේ දෛනික හා මාසික ප්ලෑන්ස් දැන් ශ්‍රී ලංකාවේ හැමෝටම මාසකට රුපියල් 209 සිට ගෙවන්න ගන්න. ඩයලොග් ශාඛාවකට හෝ බලයලත් අලෙවි නියෝජිතයෙකු වෙත පැමිණෙන්න. ඩයලොග් ලේසිපේ ටක් ගාලා ගන්න ටික ටික ගෙවන්න.
Dialogue Self-Care app is Sri Lanka's first and only award-winning app and is the best in the region with trilingual support. So we further improved the app to give more power and control to you. Even more powerful now, with over 50 dialogue services at your control anytime, any place, in your own preferred language. New services for Club Vision members. Step onto the world of self-care possibilities. Download now for free.
ළමයෝ දැන් ඩේටා වලට ඔච්චර ලෝභ වෙන්න ඕන නැහැ. ඔන්න ඩයලොග් හෝම් බ්‍රෝඩ්බෑන්ඩ් එකේ ඩේටා ඩබල් වෙලා.
එහෙනම් ඩබල් ගෙවන්නත් වෙයි.
නෑ, තියෙන ඩේටා වගේ ඩබල් ලැබෙනවා පරණ ගානටම නොමිලේ. ශ්‍රී ලංකාවේ අංකකේ සහ වේගවත්ම ඉන්ටර්නෙට් සම්බන්ධතාවයෙන් දැන් රෑට ඩේටා ඩබල් වෙලා.
ඩේටා ඩබල්.
ඩයලොග් අලගත ආදායි.
This is iPhone 6s. Not much has changed, except it responds to the pressure of your finger. So you can peek into stuff. And pop stuff open, which changes how you play a song. Read a text. Read an email. Read the news. Wait, you read the news?
Yep.
Of course you do. Now you can change apps like this. Pay at more places like this. And the new color looks like this. It's rose gold. It's awesome. And Siri is more helpful than ever.
Hey Siri, show me photos of tortellini.
Here are some images of tortellini.
Maybe get takeout? The camera shoots 4K video now, which changes how your movies look. Nice. Even
Welcome back to live pictures here from the big club grounds at St. Thomas's College. The good news is that the rain has stayed away. The bad news for St. Peter's is that they considered just before half time 19 points to 10 it is in favor of the home team St. Thomas's. Former Peterite vice captain, CR captain and Sri Lanka player Ishan Noor is with me here in the commentary box. What do you think the half-time talk would have been like from Colin Denish, Ishan, and, to the Peterites?
Main thing would be to play in their half. I think whenever we were in their half, they were under pressure. So, and not to be in our half actually.
So it looks like they want to move the ball a little quickly. Avishka Heenpalla, who scored the first try for St. Peter's, puts up a big kick. And the ball is kicked out just in front of the Thomian coaching team. That's Tanur Abewardana in the middle of Coach Laga on the right and assistant coach Dinesh Kumara on the left. Dinesh Kumara will be hoping to take this Thomian team up against his old school, Isipatana, with both teams being unbeaten, playing for the title. As the Thomian bench, as Senanayaka does really well to bring this one down. Nanak Kara in the second row. That's brought down by St. Peter's. The referee's got his arm out correctly. This is why it's such a weapon. Royal employ this day in and day out. St. Thomas is deciding that they will go to it as well. Ishan, you've played at international level and you've been coached by a lot of coaches who understand how to defend this maul. What is their advice? How do you do it?
I think one of the best things is actually sacking. Sacking is the easiest way to defend the maul like this, and because it's very difficult, pretty much difficult to counter maul a big side like this.
Well, a terrible mistake there for St. Thomas's. They missed touch on the 5 meters. The ball dribbles into the in-goal area and is touched down gratefully by the Peterites. Mayan Jayawardhan and Ashwanta Herath having a bit of a debate as to who's going to field that one, and Herath gets out the big fend, puts his shoulder into the next tackle but is brought down. Pandula De Silva looks for the offload but decides to hang on to it. Senal De Silva now. St. Thomas's with their first attack of the second half. Dhanojay Wijayaratna looking for work, coming in off his wing. The former number 8. 3 tackles fall off him. And here's Adesha Priya, the vice captain, the loose head prop, recovered from his knee injury to take his rightful place in the starting lineup. Bhuminda Disanayaka. The defense line is up quickly. Avishka Heenpalla bravely goes in on the much bigger Pandula De Silva. Ashwanta Herath, that's not a good body position from him, and that's exactly right. Good poaching from St. Peter's there. Joshua Delisle a little late, fractionally late, getting to his ball carrier Herath there. And Ashwanta coughing up the penalty.
halftime talk would have been about tackling as well, and there had been some good upfront tackling by St. Peter's, though there were some missed tackles early on.
Well, that was comedy of errors there. Navin Henakankanamge and his teammate getting a little confused as to who's going to catch that one. The ball bouncing sharply off the turf before dribbling into touch, but the Peters' heart sank for a moment there, thinking that they had missed touch again. Senanayaka will probably look to jump at 2. Delisle as well, and the throw is crooked. So it was a good contest there, Ishan. You saw both pods of forwards ready to jump for St. Thomas's. That put some pressure on Yapa.
Indeed, and I think they should have gone for a short man line out. I would say a quick throw would have been a better result. But line out throws has not been very good for St. Peter's this time onwards. There had been this the third or the fourth line out that they have missed, and that is costing them a lot.
So there's a nice big blind side available here for Sajitha Jatilaka. He'll love this.
Fine.
Senal De Silva. Ravishka Heenpella has smartly gone back to the other side of the scrum, but he needs to be 5 meters back, Ijan, if he's going to be standing away. And knock forward, says the referee. That was a really lucky escape for St. Thomas's. Both Peterite players went for the loose ball there and just ended up smashing into each other. But if one of them had picked it up, they had a free run. Let's watch this here. Ashwantha coming in on the decoy. The ball was intended for Navin Henakankanamge, but Tikshan Eshan and Steven Sivaraj just running into each other, Ishan. If Tikshan Eshan had picked that one up, he was definitely under the posts.
Or for that matter, if he had booted it, it would have been again a good chase.
He's got a pretty deep cut by the looks of things on his forehead. That's not going to stop him. He's a tough boy. He'd want to stay on. But he might need to go off and get this treated for blood, so he will be replaced for a few moments.
The ball handling skill of St. Thomas's has not been that great, Shanaka. There had been so many mistakes which has happened vis-a-vis St. Peter's, who has been retaining the ball most of the time.
Yes, they're running some very fancy moves, Ishan, some very elaborate moves at the back of the scrum. Lots of decoy running, lots of players running in on different angles. So it's important that you get those absolutely right in training before you break them out at games. But I think they're comfortable now at 19 points to 10. They feel they can bring those out.
But again, it's just only a goal and a penalty away.
Absolutely. It was 12 points to 0, and this is just a 9-point lead. The medics being very careful there with Steven Sivaraj.
Unfortunately, both players are out, I suppose.
Well, at least for the next 10 minutes perhaps, and that's a huge blow to St. Peter's, isn't it, Ishan? Because these two guys are key, one of them with their kicking ability, and Tikshan Eshan, the most dangerous back that the Peterites have.
And of course, both of them are good ball carriers actually. Though Steven, there had been some selfish moves, but still for all, I think he had managed to break through a lot of tackles, same as Tikshan Eshan as well. There's one more year that Steven can play, and I think he's learning through them. And next year he'll be a big asset for St. Peter's.
So Dilshan comes on in place of Ishan, and he takes his place on the left-hand side of this scrum.
Steady.
Bit of a concern about two replacements, especially number 10 and number 12.
That's a great scrum by the Peterites.
Again scrum.
But it didn't look like it was hooked, so referee will bring it back.
But again, I think two fresh legs in the park, so maybe some good tackles or even some ball carries.
Sandesh Jayavikrama looks like he has gone into the fly half position to replace Sivaraj. That's where he started his life off in the Peterite jersey. Surprised he didn't retain his place there.
Fine. Set. Steady.
That's a better scrum from St. Thomas's. Senal De Silva, Bhuminda Disanaik, a lovely angle hit by Ashwanta Herath. Senal De Silva. Here's Pandula De Silva carrying the ball. Sorry, that was Tehan Pereira carrying the ball, and Navin Henakan Kanamge gets the ball away. But once again, a costly knock-on. Just as you were saying, Ishan, the errors creeping up for St. Thomas's. Avishka Heenpala with a lovely little box kick. This is a good pressure chase. And three Thomian players contrived to knock the ball forward.
Advantage.
It was number 2 who was behind, and it was not a very good ball.
Sandesh Javikrama now. Here's Ziad Fernando stepping out again. And here's Ratnaik steps in to touch. Oh dear. That was Nonis who shifted wings this time.
Number 14.
In fact, it is Ratnayaka. My apologies. Diat Fernando stepped a few too many times. I thought he should have given it earlier. But there's no excuse for Ratnayaka there. He had absolutely no pressure. And Henakan Kanamge breathed a sigh of relief.
Was it Diat who? I think Diat Fernando did a good job by sucking in 3 defenders to him. But the outside support was too wide, where he stepped out of the line.
Storming in is Adisha Handin Padrana in place of the vice captain Deshapriya. So fresh legs for St. Thomas's, and Avishka Heenpalla is lucky to get this ball.
Oh, come on.
But the drop kick from Sandesh Jayavikrama is no good.
Should have sent it out, because St. Thomas's was in attacking mode, whereas Peterites were close by and they were in a defensive mode. They could have sent the ball out because there would have been space out wide.
Absolutely. Couldn't have said it better, Ishan. The Thomians were expecting the ball. You watch it here. Sandesh thinks about it, has a good sight of it, but kicks it on the run. And the ball goes out on the full. And that's another costly mistake. So the errors really keeping into this Thomian side. Ishan, they will be a little concerned about this error count that's mounting up.
They are very much under pressure on their 22. A scrum on their 22 will bring them immense pressure, I suppose. And St. Thomas has managed to score whenever they came to St. Peter's half or St. Peter's 22. So let's see if Peterites can utilize this and turn into a score.
Bind. Set. Steady. Bind enough. It. Blow.
Again, not a very good scrum. This is an important period of the game for St. Peter's. They really need to score next in order to get within striking distance of this Thomian side.
Set. Steady, White. Steady. Flank.
Taken quickly at the back.
And the hand is up, playing advantage. Probably there will be a penalty advantage.
Here's a new man coming onto the park. Place of Sivaraj.
And coming back, calling back for the penalty. I think 3-point would have been ideal. Would be an ideal now, but he had managed to take a quick tap.
Avishka Heenpalla still going. But the ball is stolen away.
But again, it's playing advantage. And
not releasing, says the referee. I'm not sure that was...
tackle and not releasing, I suppose.
Yes, not sure that the player had gone to ground though for a tackle to be constituted, but they've heard you, Ishan, and they're going for the 3 points. That's a good call. Here he goes, Sajid Jatilaka. Yes, they didn't allow any daylight for the tackled player there. So tackle assist came in and didn't release. That was Joshua Delisle. A good turnover, but just half a second too eager.
The momentum is good, but there should be some patience, as we especially playing with a team like St. Thomas's and 9 points behind. A 3-pointer would put them under too much pressure.
So Sandesh Javikrama now to do the kicking. So it's an important time for Stephen Sivaraj to be out.
Oh, finally.
And it's a good kick to the captain. Puts his team within a score. And that's a really important passage of play for St. Peter's. And now it's very important that from the restart they continue that pressure.
Team is back. Theekshan is back.
The Theekshan Eshan runs back onto the park. Much to the relief of, there he is, much to the relief of the Peterite crowd. Got his head nicely bandaged. Not sure, I don't think there'll be anything other than superficial damage there. So referee's happy, or the medical staff happy to send him back.
I think they should keep him out for some time.
And just as I was saying, it's important that they react from this kickoff, Ishan. A crucial mistake made. Adisha Handunpatirana chasing up nicely and creating the pressure.
We have seen this very often actually, because the team who scores are pretty much in a relaxed mode when they come back, and they always tend to miss the kickoff. I think this is what exactly happened over here.
So now St. Thomas's will need to respond. If they have title ambitions this season, they must respond when the chips are down. They have before, both against Trinity and against Royal. And even against St. Anthony's, they were trailing. So they're not a team that likes to lead from the front and just win games. They're a team that likes to be in a bit of a battle. Senal De Silva takes a couple of steps back. And it's a nice switch to Danuja Vijayaratna. But once again, the knock-on creeping into the game. Good run there. But Henakan Kanamge knocks the ball on. He was coming back into the open place. There was no offside line.
Yet again a knock-on, 2 knock-ons actually from St. Thomas's College, and not showing good signs actually. I don't think it's the wet ball that is actually hampering them over here.
No, it's not the wet ball at all, Ishan. It's just that they're trying a little bit too much fancy stuff close to the breakdown or close to the set piece. So the defense is organized. The third row can get in and create havoc. I'd like to see them try these little angles, maybe off the second or third phase of play. But at the moment, they're trying it off the first phase, and that's probably not the right thing to be doing. And that's another knock forward. The ball knocked forward, and Senanayaka played it in front of Sachita Jatilaka, which is why the penalty has been given. So Sachita Jatilaka not having the best of days at the back of this Thomian scrum. He'll be having a word with his front five. The Thomian front five have been excellent so far this season, but today they have met their match by the looks of things. Really good work by Avishka Heenpalla forcing that knock on, and that's Senanayaka there playing it in front. Little bit of indiscipline.
There's a small request from Kyle Bartlett actually from Dubai. There had been so many Peterites watching from Dubai. Madisha, Dilshan, Appu, all the way from Dubai. They are very much interested in the match. So I would like to say hi to all of them.
Great to have them all on board, Ishan. That's what the ThePapare does. Takes rugby, Sri Lanka schools rugby to the entire world. Udukumbura comes on for St. Peter's. And here's Seram. The number 8 who has just come onto the park, full of running. Lovely ball from Delpa Chitra to Yapa, but Yapa again managed to keep the ball in play. But it's knocked forward, so St. Thomas's will have the ball. Lovely bit of skill from Rahul Delpa Chitra. He looks like a standoff trapped in a prop's body.
Actually, all the forwards, especially Apa,
Okay.
being right outside the touchline, but number 14 actually put him out. That was pretty unfortunate. It's nice to see some hands from the forwards.
Looks like Sarit Nanayakara has come on for St. Thomas's as well, with Ferdinando taking his seat on the bench.
Ready. Crouch! Bind! Set! Steady, steady, steady.
So Udukumbura, who's just come on, having a few problems finding his footing on this turf, and the referee once again taking them just a little bit off the cricket pitch. So must say it's not ideal conditions to scrum down underfoot.
Bind! Set! Steady, 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 steady.
And that's a free kick taken quickly by Sajida Jayatilaka. It's not 10 meters. Adisha Handun Patrana now full of running. He's a big strong boy. Does a double roll and keeps the ball available. Senal De Silva. Here's Tehan Pereira now, who's had a decent game so far. Serenayaka goes in and clears. And now St. Thomas's will have a little bit of running to do.
Some maul.
It looks like it's a maul, so he'll have to come down, Danuja Vijayaratna.
Well held up by St. Peter's over there, I guess. It was good leg drive, but Peter's managed to hold him up and managed to turn over the ball.
Well, that looked like it was still going forward.
Okay?
When
imagine, you can deal with the ball.
Danuja Vijayaratna came down,
Maul.
but it was excellent upper body strength from the Peterites. Ransilu Jayatilaka, who is a strength and conditioning coach of this Peterite team, Sri Lankan powerlifting champion. He'll be very happy with what he saw there.
Bind!
It's getting a bit gloomy or rather dark over here.
Ready.
But I wouldn't worry too much about that, Ishan. I don't think there's another storm cloud coming. That's a really good scrum by the Peterites.
Hey, number four. You must wait.
Adish Handin Patrana having real problems against Rahul Delpachitra. So a good scrum from St. Peter's. Relieves the pressure from them. Sandesh Chavikrama taking no chances. Smacks that ball onto the railway line.
Nilanjan Delpachitra from Kata is closely watching his brother playing. The Rahul Delpachitra, the youngest one.
Good to have all these
2 meter.
former Peterites and of course whole Thomians as well, watching from around the world. Lovely steal there by Serenayaka, and the knock forward ruins it.
But Peters win the ball back again over here.
Calm down.
Yes, Peterites
I'll watch. Okay.
managed to win that back. Pandura De Silva having a small chat with the referee, saying that there might have been some interference in the air. And he may be right,
The last knock forward you have. Okay.
but still didn't excuse this knock forward.
Crouch! Bind! Both front row, listen. You're okay? Got to listen, then bind and set. Okay? Ready. Crouch! Bind! Set! Steady, steady.
Well picked up by Seram at the back. Avishka Hinpalla gives it away to Nonis, who's on the right wing. Good counter-ruck from St. Thomas's, but Hinpalla clears well. That's a nice ball. And now Sandesh Jayavikrama, Tikshana Eshan, he's a danger man. Sarit Nanayakkara with a good tackle on him. Mayan Jayawardena helps out. And a lovely kick over the top. There's no fullback, but Bhumendra Dissanayake has gotten back and covered well. So Heenpalla looking to find some space behind that defensive line, but Bhumendra had read the play well and come back and covered.
It wasn't a very wise kick because St. Peters was in the front foot and they were running really well. Should have been a bit more patience and would have had some more facers, I suppose.
Yes, or maybe even kept that kick on the ground, Ishan.
And Tikshana Eshan, I think he should see his outside always for support, because over there as well there were about 3 who was into him, and a little bit of offload would have got the ball out and probably would have been a score.
Well, news from the CRNFC grounds. Isipatana maintained their unbeaten record by beating Trinity by 29 points to 22. Trinity were leading in that second half by 22 points to 17, but Isipatana just too strong in the last quarter.
10, keep the 10.
So 29-22 to Isipatana at CRNFC grounds. Ratnayaka manages to control that. Now Diat Fernando leaves the ball behind, but the referee says it's a knock-on. And he'll be right as well. My apologies, it's actually 32-22. So a 10-point win for the Peterites. That's the knock forward, and you can see the ball going out of his hands and going forward off his hands. So it doesn't matter where the body is as long as it goes forward off the hands. Lucky the knock-on happened because Sarit Nanayakkara didn't use any arms in that attempt to stop the Diat Fernando.
Crouch! Bind! Set!
Senal De Silva makes way for Dion Dias in the number 9 jersey. Appreciative
you have to
round of applause for the little scrum half.
Now release! Ruck ball!
Pandra De Silva plays at scrum half. Good run by Tehan Pereira there. The counter ruck is good. And St. Peters knocked the ball on, and Navin Henakan Kanamge comes up with it. And there's no advantage coming, and Bhumendra Dissanayake puts in what could have been a very dangerous kick. Ashwanta Herath having a little yell at somebody, which is not a bad thing. That's the kick that could have gone horribly wrong, because Tehan Pereira was well in front of the kicker as well. So he's lucky he didn't give away a penalty there. Bhumendra Dissanayake hasn't had his best game in the number 10 jersey for St. Thomas's today. In terms of attack, there have been a few misplaced passes, a few knock-ons that they may wish to simplify a little bit.
Not white.
Dion. And the referee makes the correct call because it was taken from the wrong mark.
Mark back. That's a wrong mark.
Dion Dias tries to be a little too eager. Just come onto the park, wants to try and make a difference. But the 3-pointer here, Ishan, is probably going to be the best call.
Indeed. I think both teams are losing their patience right now, and that's the most important, to keep them calm and to look into the points.
Dion Dias probably the best kicker on the park at the moment, but Ashwanta Herath is a senior man, and he will take this kick from a pretty easy angle compared to his kicking abilities. He'll expect to knock this one over. Thomas Paul, one of the junior coaches and a referee himself, watches on for St. Thomas's. He's brought the tee on, and Herath Takes his time, as he does. Concentrates hard on the point of contact. Doesn't move his eyes from that point of contact. And it's a lovely kick. Straight through. And it's good to see that technique, Ishan.
3 times.
Really concentrating all the way through.
Not try pushing. You had it straight.
And
pushing.
of course, this will be a game changer because I guess there's only 15 more minutes and 9 points difference. St. Peter's have to play very hard to get back to the game. And the kicker not doing any mistakes, taking his time and perfectly kicking it to the goal.
So that puts St. Thomas's beyond 1 score. Right wing. Thomian crowd a little bit more relaxed now. They were a little anxious 5 minutes ago with just a 6-point gap.
St. Thomas's obviously have the ground advantage by supporters cheering as well as their home turf being. So St. Peter's really needs to get back to their game because
well, the crowd has been pretty quiet so far though, Ishan. It hasn't really been that vocal crowd that you expect from a home team.
Up until this moment, but now I think I can see a few hands going here and there and people are shouting. Seems like the St. Peter's has overshadowed the crowd of St. Thomas's.
Looks like it has. But can they do so on the field as well is a question that remains to be answered in the next 10 minutes. Dias, his brother played as hooker a few years ago, Dilesh Dias.
But I would say Peterites are playing way better than they were last week. They have improved in many aspects. So let's wait and see.
Absolutely, Ishan, and it's also easier when you're playing against a team that's coming out and playing some rugby, prepared to make some mistakes. It's very difficult when you've got just one aspect of the game to worry about. Henakan Kanamge, good tackle on him by Ratnayaka.
Ruck ball!
Dion Dias, Shani Vahangama goes down well, and Peters have strayed offside, so the advantage will come. Ashwant Herath to Adisha Handun Patrana, Wayne Mack.
Offside.
There's too many forwards for me, for my liking, Ishan, in this back line for St. Thomas's.
Offside.
There's not enough pace in the attack. There's not enough players running onto the ball at pace.
මම පහළ වෙන්නේ පහ මේකයි බලන්න.
Rahal is struggling, I suppose. Rahal is not dropping properly.
Good take there in the middle of the line out by Serenayaka, who's been excellent. The youngest of the 3 Serenayaka brothers. Both his elder brothers captain St. Thomas's, so he'll be expecting to as well. Shani Vahangama, lovely pass inside, and that's Serenayaka who scores, but he's been outside.
Line out.
Shani Vahangama has just stepped outside.
Beautiful
Serenayaka thought it scored.
But there had been a beautiful cover tackle over there, and I think the man was out of the field by the time he passed. So it was a good call.
I'm sure we'll be able to see that on the replay again. Here's the pass, lovely pass. He juggles the ball a little bit, and that's Rahal Delpachitra coming across and just stepping on the line. That's a really close call. Touch judge right on the spot. You watch it here. Rahal Delpachitra, that's where the ball leaves. And we couldn't just see it there, but the touch judge was right on the spot. So Shani Vahangama hasn't had as good a game as he would like compared to last week. St. Thomas is defending this driving maul, and Avishkahin Palla is compelled to kick off the back. Henakan Kanamge manages to tiptoe his way into the field of play, gets the ball away, and now there's some space for Danuja Vijayaratne. Hands off, does really well, the winger. But the penalty is coming, and taking it quickly is Henakan Kanamge. And Peters were not back 10. Dion Dias gets over the line, and the little man who made such a cult following for himself when he came on against Wesley and completely turned the game on its head, has found his way back to the bench after playing football for many years of his Thomian school career. He's found his place back to the rugby pitch, and now is responsible for the score that may put this game beyond the reach of the Peterites.
You have to get your feet. Okay? Don't.
St. Peter's IK is losing their patience and of course their discipline as well, conceiving more penalties in their danger zone, and being not 10 as well. Next time it might be a yellow card.
Yes, they were lucky that those didn't get spoken about. Referee Carter didn't really warn them, didn't have time, didn't have the need. But that kick to Henakan Kanamge, who fielded that really well, so even if he's not scoring tries, he's making things happen. Such an electric player for the Thomians. They haven't been able to get the ball in his hands enough this evening, which is why they've only scored the 4 tries. It's that familiar sound of the train passing by that we get on this side of the Gaul Road, Ishan, but not on your side. And a nice steady conversion from Ashwant Herat once again. He's Mr. Reliable, isn't he? Doesn't make too many mistakes, always gains yards with the ball in hand, and he's a strong defender, so he's somebody any coach would like to have in their side, and keeps the points ticking over as well with the conversions.
Just after kickoff, I think again once again knocking off. Like I mentioned, I guess now St. Thomas is a bit relaxing, I suppose.
Knock forward.
It was the same with St. Peter's as well, when they missed out the kickoff, when they just scored and they came back.
Yes, St. Peter's now would look to try and get the ball into the hands of Diat Fernando. He's the one who created just a little bit of a spark for them.
Game is moving away and it's 16 points lead. They have to execute all their moves possible to cross the line, and St. Thomas's has been pretty much strong even right through at the end.
Yes, they've got good endurance. It's a big pack, but they still have big engines. And Seram coming on at the back of this Peterite scrum. Maybe he can spark something on the blind side. He's been full of running. He's much faster than Disanayaka, who started the game. And a good tackle as well by Shani Vahangama. Joshua Delisle does well to keep the ball in hand. Good rucking there by Adish Handun Patirana. Serenayaka thought he'd scored on the far end, but Dion Dias actually managed to score. Pandula De Silva takes the offload from Jayatilaka.
St. Thomas's lock forwards are doing a really good job. I think they're all over, especially the Senanayaka brothers, if I'm not mistaken. And I was actually expecting some tiring legs, but they are very much mobile.
Danuja Vijayaratne, it's another barnstorming run.
I think a card is coming out, probably a yellow card against a bit right.
Yes, didn't really see that.
That was Tikshana. Tikshana Hishan is out of the field.
See what that was for, if you can see the replay.
I guess it was a shoulder charge.
See it here, that's Ishan. He manages to bring him down there. So it's not that tackle. Referee was very quick to give the yellow as well. So yes, that was that. Coming in from the side and just ran into the back of Mayan Jayawardena there. It was completely unnecessary. Bad discipline from Tikshana Ishan, and his evening is done. So St. Peter's will have to carry on with just the 14 players. Danoja Wijayaratne having a bit of a rest, and while he gets attended to, just remember that that everything you see here on ThePapare.com site or on our Facebook page, all the photographs and videos are published and are available for purchase at reasonable rates. For any information, you can email info@thepapare.com or call our hotline on 0777 822 777. This game and many other games will be reviewed during the week, of course, on the breakdown with Sabir and myself, and the Back to the Board segment that Sabir does an in-depth analysis of what's gone on in the weekend. Just to remind you that Isipathana have beaten Trinity comprehensively today, 32 points to 22 after trailing in that second half by 22-17. They managed to come back and win the game easily. So Ishan, especially with that yellow card, the mountain a little too high to climb now for Peters.
Yeah, especially playing with 14 guys. And St. Thomas's once again, it was, I suppose it was an Ocon.
Avishka Inpal has had a very good game for St. Peter's. Today he's been one of the guys who's been at the center of everything that Peters have tried to do. Unfortunately, guys like Diat Fernando and Tikshana Ishan have not really come to the party, but
Forward front row, step back. Step.
It's the Pete right forwards that have really kept them even this far in the game, isn't it, Ishan?
Of course. And hats off for the line as well. I think they did some good moves, especially some good runs by that try which was scored.
Well, for me, Ishan, in terms of man of the match, I think the Thomian forwards have all been good as a collective 8. Shenal De Silva has also been good, but in terms of yards gained in place of defensive hits that have been made and the ball carries, I think Danoja Wijayaratne, the big number 26, who's playing on the wing.
But who is number 8 if I'm not mistaken?
Yes, he's done quite a lot of work. That's charged down. And now Ashwanta Herat will put the fend in and go under the posts. Yes, it's easy. Ashwanta Herat, he's been another top performer today. But Danoja Wijayaratne gets our vote in the commentary box for man of the match. And the points keep piling on for St. Thomas's.
I think St. Thomas is putting the icing on the cake towards the latter part and just going on a scoring rampage. But the scores doesn't actually depict the overall game, I would say, Shanaka. So St. Peter's has improved a lot compared to last game with Royal. But once again, St. Thomas being strong, especially the last 10 minutes, they have come up strong and they have been scoring around, which is going to be pretty much diminishing for St. Peter's.
Yes, Sarit Nanyakara, first man on the spot as Ashwanta Herat fell over there. Kept his eyes on the prize, did Herat, when the ball was dropped. So charged it down from Sandesh Jayavikrama and ran it in. That's the center partnership. Two big guys in the centers. How they will go sideways when they come up against the likes of the Madhuranga brothers for Science College and Kushan Indunil and Rankotge for Isipathana will be the true test of this center partnership for St. Thomas's.
Yeah, you see once again the kickoff was missed.
Dion Dias gets hammered but manages to hold on to the ball. Now here's Ashwanta Herath again. Unselfishly gives it away this time to Mayon Jayawardena. Brings him back into the game. Sarit Nanayakara straightens the angle. Here's St. Peter's who've stolen the ball, coming away with it now through the skipper. Good counter ruck from Tehan Pereira, and that's beautifully done. St. Thomas is turning that ball over crucially. And Dion Dias now, it's to Hans Valpola, who's replaced Bhuminda Disanayaka, who's done a decent enough day's work.
Come down.
Dion Dias is very quick off the base, Ishan, but he's got a bit of work to do on this. The distribution angle of things. His pass is not as hard and fast as his starting number 9. That's him on the ground with a bit of a knee problem. Let's hope he's okay to carry on.
I suppose he has few more years to learn. Maybe he's learning through the process.
Now forward.
Let's watch where the injury happened. It was probably here where he gets dragged into the ruck, and that's a penalty in itself. You can't play the halfback.
Fake kick.
This might probably be the last move. Do you think, Shanika?
It may be. I think we don't have the referee's clock on our screens, so difficult to say, but there have been quite a few injuries in this second half, so it might be a long half.
It's ready.
Visipatana game with St. Thomas's will be interesting. 2 undefeated teams coming into play, like you actually mentioning earlier.
Well, let's see whether they're undefeated by the time it comes to that stage, Ishan. There's lots more to do before that.
You have to stay.
Couple more games under the belt of for both teams before they come to that clash. Visipatana will have to play Royal, and St. Thomas's will have to play Science College before that next game. Seram goes off the back. Delisle as well. He's also had a really good game for St. Thomas's today. It's been a good team performance by the Thomians and good pressure from Ashwanta Herath once again. Pilapitia is also on the park for the Thomians, so Coach Laga emptying his bench.
Roll away!
And we can see the crowd moving out as well.
Yes, the crowd is leaving early, trying to escape the rain that is now threatening from over the coconut trees that we saw. Lovely pass. Ratnayaka, but an excellent tackle as well from Navin Henakan-Kanamge. Shows that he's not just an attacking player, he's a good defender as well. Yapa does well. This is something that Peters would have liked to have in the first 10 minutes and not the last 10 minutes.
There's a sighting by the side ref.
I think that might have been a bit of a stamp from Henakan-Kanamge. If you can go back to that tackle from him earlier, might actually see a little bit of a stamp. Just go back to this tackle here. And the tackle is legal, I think. He lifts him up, but he brings him down. But we'll go back to that later if we have a chance. Dion Dias
kicks it out. I think that was the correct move. And the game is over.
That's the game, and that's the Archibald Pereira Trophy, staying at St. Thomas's, staying in Mount Lavinia, not making the short journey down Gaul Road to Bambalapitia. Ishan, it was an improved performance from the Peterites, and although the 36-13 scoreline doesn't suggest it, Peters were in this game for much of it.
Of course, I think they have improved a lot compared to previous game. But yet again, still for all, there's a lot to improve from St. Peter's side, especially the discipline when it comes to penalties, because we gave away a lot of penalties towards the end, and should have more patience to build up more faces. So continuation is very much important. There were a few offloads in the very beginning, but unfortunately I didn't see it towards the latter part. That would have been a difference.
Yes, it may have, but they started off well, just couldn't continue the intensity. So St. Peter's going down 36 points to 13 in a rain hit encounter here at Mount Lavinia. We will continue to build up towards that clash between Isipatana and St. Thomas's. If both teams oblige by staying unbeaten next week, that's the million-dollar question, of course, that will be answered only next Monday, and we'll bring you all that action. Don't forget to join us for the breakdown as well in the course of this week. And that's the final score. St. Thomas's 36 points to 13. They scored 5 tries. Ashwanta Herat converting 4 of those together with the final try, and 1 penalty when the game was in the balance as well. Danoja Vijayaratna full of running from the wing 3/4 position, looking for work, the big man. And the rain's coming down just after the final whistle is blown. So that brings us to an end of our coverage here from Mount Lavinia. And for ThePapare.com, for Mishan Noor and myself, Shanak Amrasinghe, it's goodbye for now. We'll join you on the breakdown and next week.
This is iPhone 6s. Not much has changed, except it responds to the pressure of your finger. So you can peek into stuff. And pop stuff open, which changes how you play a song. Read a text. Read an email. Read the news. Wait, you read the news? Yep. Of course you do. Now you can change apps like this. Pay at more places like this. And the new color looks like this. It's rose gold. It's awesome. And Siri is more helpful than ever.
Hey Siri, show me photos of tortellini.
Here are some images of tortellini.
Maybe get takeout? The camera shoots 4K video now, which changes how your movies look. Nice. Even selfies have changed. Now your screen is the flash. That's gonna get like 1 million likes.
Thanks.
Actually, photos themselves have changed. They move now. You just touch them. So yeah, that's what's changed.